talk about why Bitcoin will fail. Now, as of today, right now, this very moment, Bitcoin is sitting at about 54,000. Let's see, I think it's over 55,000. $55,000. Now, how in the world can I say Bitcoin's going to fail? I mean, the past 7 days, it's up 16+%. It's on a tear. Well, first thing, I'm going to share with you why I think Bitcoin's going to fail. Now, I'm talking about primarily in the short term. Long term, I think Bitcoin's wins, but I think it's going to be a long road. I have said from the very beginning of my channel that I am bullish on Bitcoin's use case as a currency, and I believe that Bitcoin is going to ultimately get to $1 million per Bitcoin at 2019 buying levels, meaning $1 million valued the same way it was at 2019 or 2018. The problem with this is I think people are underestimating the risk of cryptocurrency. The single greatest risk to the collapse of cryptocurrency as a currency, first and foremost, which I believe truly is Bitcoin's biggest possible use case, is going to be government attacks. You see, already, I recently, on one of my channels, on one of my videos, someone commented and said the banking cartels of the world are not going to allow cryptocurrency to win. First and foremost, you have to understand that they're not rolling over. They are attacking it, and I'm going to go through some of those attacks here in a moment. And there's two main ways they're going to attack it, but we'll talk about that in a second. However, you have to also recognize that as long as there's an electrical power grid that exists in the world and a mode of doing some sort of electronic transactions, cryptocurrency cannot fully be stopped. They can collapse its value. They can make it difficult to use. They can make it illegal to transact in at times. They may make it even illegal to own. But the reality is it's extraordinarily difficult for them to truly stop you from using it and owning it if you want to. In fact, it's almost like them saying that you couldn't go to the bathroom in your own house, or you couldn't walk in your own yard and you could step out the backyard and nobody can see you. Like it's technically next to impossible to truly enforce 100%. That's why it will ultimately win. And I'm going to show you how they're currently trying to attack cryptocurrency, how they're currently trying to attack Bitcoin's use case as a currency. First and foremost, what they're doing is they're shifting the narrative. The narrative is Bitcoin's a store of value. Bitcoin's a store of value. By the way, if Bitcoin is a store of value, if that is in fact what it is, you need to know there's still massive opportunity, because the single biggest store of value that we have right now, people are like Bitcoin's digital gold. Bitcoin's digital gold. Well, gold, in order for Bitcoin's total market cap to match that of the gold market right now, it would have to be at about $500,000 per Bitcoin. In every way, the argument for Bitcoin being digital gold does make sense. It's easier to secure, it's easier to carry, it's easier to transport, it's easier to send from one place to the next. If you can send email, you can send Bitcoin. It's also, you're able to divide one Bitcoin down to one Satoshi, which is 1/100th millionth of a piece. Very, very simple. You don't have to have a chunk of gold and you don't have to melt it down, cut it. You don't have to do anything like that. Bitcoin is easier to secure, it's easier to hold, it is easier to transport, and it's easier to divide up in small transactional increments. Therefore, from that standpoint, Bitcoin is better than gold. The only area that it's not better than gold is that it's not physical. But the problem with gold being physical is now if you have a large amount of it, you've got to somehow store it, hold it, keep it secure. You can only put so much gold in your physical possession, but you can hold all of your Bitcoin in the palm of your hand or in your head if you remember your private keys. And nobody can take it from you short of threatening your life and or killing you, literally. So with that being said, it is a store of value, but it's more than that. Because it can be a store of value, because it can be easily transactionable, it could become a currency. But that's where they're going to shift the narrative. That's the first. So the PR standpoint, you'll hear people say things, you hear the government say things like go, and we're going to get to some news headlines in a minute, but you'll hear things like gold. By the way, I want to say this. If you like listening to my channel because you like hearing about how you're going to get free crypto, how you can earn passive income, I get all of that. I love talking about that. Those videos get crazy ratings because you all like to learn about it. But first and foremost, you have to understand the fundamentals of cryptocurrency. People get nervous. Right now we're in a bull market. Everybody's excited. As soon as this market turns around and crashes and tanks by 10, 20, 30%, people are going to get panicked. I'm going to get phone calls. I'm going to get YouTube comments. I'm going to get emails. The whole time, I don't care. I am I am just continuing to dollar cost average, continuing to stack my passive income streams, continuing to grow. I have zero concern about the future of cryptocurrency. That's not financial advice for you, but you need to understand where I'm coming from. I get the fundamental use cases. I get where the world is headed. We are under an unsustainable amount of debt. Governments around the world, especially the U.S., recognize that we are under incredible strains from our debt, and we've got to unravel this thing, and we're all globally connected. So the challenge is, how do we opt out of a dollar denominated system to preserve our own individual economic sovereignty, economic state sovereignty, meaning each individual country has their own economic sovereignty? The reality is this: you're going to hear things like people use cryptocurrency if they're doing things illegal. The drug dealers on the dark web use cryptocurrency. But in most cases now, they're not using Bitcoin. Bitcoin is trackable. It is transparently trackable, specifically with some of the KYC, know your customer regulations that are already getting implemented on the various exchanges. So that is not occurring. People are not using Bitcoin as much on the dark web. They may be using some of the privacy coins. They may be using Monero. But the reality is, when you're looking at money laundering and illegal activity, the U.S. dollar is and has always been the number one preferred currency of anyone doing anything illegal. First and foremost, period, end of story. Barack Obama himself sent Iran cash, billions of dollars of cash. You should look it up. There's pictures of it on a pallets to Iran, because Iran did not want to deal in the banking system because America put banking sanctions, economic sanctions on them, which means that they weren't able to use the traditional banking system. The governments weren't allowed to transact with Iran. So Iran had part of their negotiation was to deliver them X amount of cash. That cash was in U.S. dollars. It wasn't in any other currency. It was in U.S. dollars. The U.S. dollar is used around the world for a lot of different reasons, but including people who want to do things illegal. It's not Bitcoin currently, and it's not cryptocurrency, even the privacy coins. Most of those, in most cases, that's not what's getting used. But that is the narrative that you will start to hear, particularly when they start talking about Bitcoin crossing over from the store of value argument to the actual use case currency argument. You're going to hear that, oh, people who are using Bitcoin, they're people who are doing things illegal, and it kind of demonizes it, and it tries to turn the public against cryptocurrency. That's one way they're going to attack, or they are attacking it. The other way that they're attacking it is through regulations, KYC, AML. Most Americans don't realize this, but our government is the most aggressive at you having to provide all sorts of identifying information to banking. That's why Binance, for example, has Binance.com and Binance.us, because they wanted to separate those two, because it's such a headache for those international companies to comply with American laws. But that's a challenge for them, because our government is so incredibly aggressive with requiring KYC, AML. And of course, they always say it's about money laundering. Of course, they always say that's the reason why they're doing it. And of course, that's a very small percentage of why they're actually probably doing it. First and foremost, it's about them connecting your wallet addresses to your identity so they can track you with chain analytics. That's why people, listen, more people than ever are getting letters from the IRS saying, hey, you owe us X amount of dollars in taxes. And people are like, how in the world does the government know what I owe them? Because they're doing chain analytics. Because of KYC, AML, they know your identity. They can connect it to your wallet address. They can do chain analytics. They can find your other wallet addresses. They can find what cryptocurrencies you've been in, what dApps you've been in. It's not doing you any good not to pay your taxes. By the way, I'm going to be doing a video about taxes. Taxes in crypto can be relatively painless now. And the reason is because of the same exact technology, the chain analytics technology. Taxation, identification from KYC, AML, recognizing who's doing what, where they're doing it, being able to track spending. I mean, that's another way that they're monitoring or they're going to potentially come after cryptocurrency. It's also how they're going to try to prevent you from using it at some point in the future, should regulations ever actually make it illegal. Now, I've got to say, regulations that they've come out so far have actually been pretty decent, and I've been pleased to see that. And I don't know what the long-term play is for the U.S. here. I don't know if the U.S. goes the route of everybody else, or if the U.S., one country somewhere is going to flip, and they're going to start promoting actual cryptocurrency instead of the Fed coin. And that leads us to basically the third way that they're going to try to attack cryptocurrency, or they are trying to attack cryptocurrency. And every country is doing this. Every major developed country is doing this right now. This is the news headline today that made me do this video. Russia could become first country to make entire currency digital as cryptocurrency booms. If you go through this article, they're basically saying that Russia is being far more aggressive in their development and a lot slower in their rollout and their testing. And Russia is on the way to very quickly having their own entire currency digital. This is not Bitcoin. They're not saying, hey, Russia's about to go to Bitcoin. Russia's about to go to Ethereum. That's not what they're saying. They're saying Russia is going to create essentially their own currency. Now, why is this a problem? Because what they're looking to do, I just noticed this Bitcoin ski. That's funny. What they're looking to do, and by the way, this is misleading. It's not Bitcoin. It is not Bitcoin. So Bitcoin is decentralized. There's no entity that owns Bitcoin. There's no single entity that can control Bitcoin except you can control the Bitcoin that you have in your wallet. However, in a centralized currency like the Fed coin, which the U.S. government is looking to roll out, like the Chinese yuan, the digital yuan, which China is looking to roll out, and now Russia is rolling out their own. In these cases, they're going to be centralized currencies. So the government is able to, go ahead and mint a specific supply, or they may have an elastic supply. And at that point in time, you got to understand, you don't control your money. You may have, $100 worth of Fed coin or the U.S. digital dollar in some sort of private approved wallet. You may be holding that in your wallet, but they have the ability to enact negative interest rates. They can inflate the coins very, very quickly and easily. They can also deflate them very quickly and easily. They can charge you taxes, meaning you don't have to worry about paying taxes every quarter. They automatically remove the taxes from your wallet. That can happen. We'll have to see how far they push this, but that 100% can happen. I don't think they're going to start out pushing it that way. In fact, quite the opposite. I think they're going to start out giving people free money who opt into the digital system. Everybody is going to rush to the digital system. Everybody's going to use it. Everybody. When I say everybody, I mean 90+% of people. And it's sad to me because when I talk about airdrops, if you like hearing about airdrops, be sure to subscribe to the channel. I'm going to continue to talk about them because I think they can be very good. But some airdrops say, hey, you have to sign up with an account, you have to do KYC. I normally try to avoid those types of airdrops. And I had one of my commenters said, nobody's going to do that. Nobody's going to do KYC. Unfortunately, if that's the way you feel, I appreciate the way you feel because I wish more people felt that way. The reality is people currently don't care. I mean, listen. The attack on cryptocurrency is going to happen. The single biggest attack is government trying to co-opt the movement. I said this 2 years ago when I first started talking about Bitcoin going to $1 million. Back then, people thought I was crazy. Bitcoin had crashed. We were in a bear market. We were below, 30,000 and, people were, all upset. There's no way. How can you say we're going to $1 million, so on and so forth? Because I understood the use case. I understood the fundamentals and I know where it's going. That's why I've always had faith in cryptocurrency. Right now I've got some friends that are like, man, how did you know cryptocurrency was going to do this? I didn't know when it was going to do it. I just know that eventually it's going to do it. I don't know how much it's going to move up and down. I'm not sitting here trying to trade every day, swing trade. Nobody's actually successful with that stuff anyway. Nobody. You can't find me one single long-term swing trader who's ever traded one micro market such as Bitcoin or Ethereum or the cryptocurrency market who's ever been successful in bear markets and bull markets. I'm hopping off that soapbox now. That's bullshit. That's not what I'm about. What I'm telling you is if you believe in the future of the technology, then it's just a matter of slowly amassing more currency, amass the technology. And government's going to attack this technology first and foremost by creating their own currency. So Russia's doing it right here. The Chinese, the digital currency electronic payment, is a digital version of the yuan. China's national currency, the DCEP, is backed by yuan deposits held by China's central bank and has been under development for slightly more than 5 years. This is out of December of 2020. They've been working on this for 5 years. Now here's one for the U.S. Not a Cold War. China's using a digital currency insurgency to unseat the U.S. dollar. That's what I was talking about earlier. I actually think that's why most countries are trying to create their own digital currency because the U.S. dollar is in trouble. Same exact reason. Tesla said that they were investing basically their cash reserves, a significant portion of their cash reserves. They were investing in Bitcoin because they said that it was safer than holding that reserves in sovereign debt. Now, he said sovereign debt. What he did not say was T-bills or U.S. Treasury bills, which is a form of sovereign debt, and it's the most popular form of sovereign debt that any other company would hold probably in the world. So he said and he didn't say that. I mean, that would have been un-American to say that. He said it's better than holding those cash reserves in sovereign debt, so they would rather hold it in Bitcoin. China's got the same problem. China's our single biggest borrower. Right now, America could not send out stimulus checks without borrowing money. And we're getting tremendous stimulus checks right now. Businesses are getting stimulus checks. So literally, a sizable percentage of our borrowing is coming from international lenders. And the single biggest lender internationally is either China or Japan, and then the other one is second. First and second is China and Japan, which means that China has a problem. If they feel like Elon Musk, if they feel like Tesla, then they've got to get rid of that. How do they get rid of it? So you start to quietly, somewhat slowly mitigate to an alternative system, and they're doing it. So now the U.S. is going to counterpunch, partly because they have to. If you go look up, the calculations of inflation, I've covered it on this channel, the rate that inflation is likely to happen. If you just go look at projections, even if you look at the conservative projections, the conservative numbers say, hey, inflation is coming. Those are the conservative numbers. Now, the conservative people feel that inflation is coming, but government can slow it down by increasing taxes across the board ultimately. Of course, politically, they'll say they're going to tax the rich or they're going to tax corporate America, but the truth is they're going to ultimately tax everybody. So that's how the government can try to slow it down. The problem is, if you look at historic tax revenues and the government's ability to collect tax revenues, they don't actually do a very good job. The percentage of tax revenues the government collects is like, I forget the number. It shocked me when I saw it. I'm not going to say this right, but maybe it's like 20-something percent, 30-something percent of total taxes owed. They literally don't collect them all. Why? Because they don't have enough auditors chase down every business and every household in America who cheats on their taxes. Have you ever cheated on your taxes? Do you know someone who cheated on their taxes? Lots of people cheat on their taxes. A lot of people fudge the numbers, partially because it's too hard to file taxes, partially because they say things like a reasonable wage, and it's up to you to decide what's a reasonable wage. How do you figure that out? The U.S. government's not very good at collecting taxes, which is one reason why they would come over to the Fed coin. The Fed coin practically guarantees that they could collect 100% of taxes within a matter of minutes to hours in the entire country by using a private blockchain, a blockchain they control, a blockchain, because with Bitcoin, no one can recall your Bitcoin or pull Bitcoin out of your wallet. But for example, if you're familiar with the Rebase token, like Base Protocol and Ampleforth and some of those tokens, they can shrink the supply. The U.S. government could potentially do that as well. If it wasn't through taxation, they could just shrink the whole supply. That's actually easier. So all of a sudden you got, $1,000 in your bank account. Next thing you know, you look up, you got, $600 in your bank account. 40% is gone. They just shrunk the supply just that quick. That sort of, I'm not saying they're going to do that. They're not going to start out doing that. But that would be possible in a private cryptocurrency. The bottom line is, in a private central bank controlled digital dollar, you aren't your own bank. You do not have control of your funds like you do in a decentralized. I end every video saying decentralized cryptocurrency equals freedom. I used to say cryptocurrency equals freedom. I changed it and started saying decentralized cryptocurrency equals freedom, because centralized cryptocurrency is the exact opposite. You are a slave to the body who controls your currency. And they control you literally because they control your finances. Why do I think Bitcoin's going to fail? Because I think that the government attack is going to, that's where the next the next bear market. Now, that bear market might not come for a few months, even a couple of years, because I think at first they're going to try to appear like they assimilate with cryptocurrency. They're going to try to appear like they're pro-Bitcoin. They may even start encouraging people to use cryptocurrency, because if people start using cryptocurrency, then they're going to be comfortable using the Fed's version of cryptocurrency. And then the Fed at some point will create incentives such as free coins, free tokens, free money to use their cryptocurrency. And once that happens, that they can get a sizable percentage of people using their currency, then they'll start creating more stricter regulations. And I'm just hypothesizing here. None of this is investment advice. The problem is, I don't know where this happens. Like, I don't know if it happens. I still think Bitcoin's going to hit $100,000 this year. We're already at $55,000. When I said that last year, I think it was October of last year, I got hate in my comments. But here we are sitting at 55,000, 54.9 right now. And I believe it's very possible that we could hit 100,000 before the end of the year. I don't know. FedCoin's going to launch this year. Mark my words. I truly believe FedCoin's going to launch that year. I'd be willing to bet on it. FedCoin's going to launch. Listen, I'm 90% certain that's why I'd be willing to bet on it. but I'm 100% certain that some country will launch their own currency. I don't know if it will be the U.S. government first. Now, why do I say that Bitcoin fails temporarily? Because ultimately, I think what happens is that when people realize that they don't like the current system, after the current system is painful, and it may take a few years, they've got to see governments abuse their own economic policies. And they always do. I mean, governments always abuse their own economic policies. And once that happens, once they see governments trying to borrow too much, trying to devalue their currency, or trying to force taxation, and people at some point are not going to like that. And it may start out slow, but then it's going to pick up speed, and decentralized cryptocurrencies are going to lead the way. Now, whether it's Bitcoin or not, I'm not sure. Currently, today, by market cap, it's the only obvious choice. It's the only obvious choice. And people are going to go with what's well established, what has the biggest network, what has the most perceived security, etc. So at this very moment, it would probably be Bitcoin. Maybe Ethereum, maybe something else, but at this very moment, it's probably going to be Bitcoin. So I believe people will turn towards cryptocurrency and probably Bitcoin eventually. At some point, governments always lose the trust and the faith of its citizens. That's happened in every civilization since the beginning of mankind. So that always happens. Like, people are like, well, how can you say that? Are you negative? No, I'm not negative. I just understand market cycles. I find this stuff fascinating. Go research Rome. How did Rome collapse? One way they collapsed is they had expenses that they could no longer financially support. So what do? They started debasing their own currency. They started devaluing their own currency. Governments do that. They always have. So therefore, I believe long-term, Bitcoin will win. Long-term, citizens will want to be independent with their own finances. The only way you can do that is using a public blockchain, such as Bitcoin, such as Ethereum, something that is decentralized. The more decentralized, the better. Those are my thoughts. I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comments. Let me know what you think. Do me a favor, smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, and I've got something big coming up for you. Those of you who saw my video yesterday, where I had 200,000, I think it was 238,000% APY, I'm going to be doing a video soon and update you on how that crazy, risky, probably trashy investments doing 238,000% APY yield farming on the Binance Smart Chain. Stay tuned. I'm going to be giving you an update on video on that. Also, got another project I'm looking at that's going to be doing an airdrop. Just trying to get some final details on that. I'll be putting a video together on that as well in the coming 2 or 3 days. So be looking out for that. Do me a favor, ladies and gentlemen. Smash that like button and hit that subscribe button. I have a goal. I'm trying to get to 50,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Can you help me? Share this video. Tell your friends. Tell your family. They got to subscribe. They got to be in the know. They got to learn about cryptocurrency, because we are on the cusp of a crypto revolution. We're bringing it to the masses. We're bringing it to the world. All of us are part of this, and it's an exciting time to be here. Thank you so much for watching. Decentralized cryptocurrency equals freedom. This is Crypto Wealth. I'm out.